I've collected quite a few different supplies, stationery, and other things to draw with, to create with, and I have quite a bit that I've built up over the years. So much so that I have a whole craft room full, and I also share a lot with my mom, and we have just a large variety of things. So I thought today I would share at least some of them with you and give you some thoughts and insight on them. Those of you who follow me on TikTok, some of this material may seem familiar because this is where I'm getting most of my questions from to answer about the stationery that I use and the different types of materials that I use. But I have included a bunch of different things that I haven't posted before. So you can stick around, especially since we're going through my massive collection of washi tape today. So grab a cup of tea. Today is my usual Earl Grey in my dragon cup for Haku. And let's get into exploring them. Jared on TikTok asked me about the different kinds of inks and can you paint with them? So let's get into it. Inks come in a wide variety of different styles and colors and different consistencies. Some are specifically meant to go into your fountain pens, while others could completely destroy your pen because of the lacquer in it or because of the pigment it's made out of. All the inks can be painted with. They're made to be very similar to concentrated watercolor. Some inks are meant to be more water soluble and they'll come up when wet again, while others are meant to stay permanently on the paper. A good example of this is this violet. You can see that it is really starting, you can see it sitting on the bottle. This is where it's permanently dried onto the bottle, versus this other violet from the same brand, which is meant to be water soluble and it is not as adhered to the bottle. If you still want to use the permanent ink, I do recommend putting it in a brush pen with a synthetic tip, so that way it'll flow more smoothly and it won't clog up. If you try and put the same type of ink into a fountain pen, it could destroy the pen. I've learned that the hard way several times over. The exception to this is Platinum's carbon ink. It is a permanent ink that does not clog up a pen. It's very dark while still allowing you the flexibility of being able to put it in a fountain pen. My favorite brands to use are the Rochizuku by Pilot, the Ferris Wheel Press, and the Diamine ink. Diamine is a good middle grade ink. I have a big hit or miss with these, where sometimes they're perfect while other times they're just too light or too dark. An example of this is Dragon's Blood is my favorite, which is perfect, while Spruce smudges too much on my papers, and Alpine is just too light for me to use regularly. So I'd probably paint with this more often. I have made some of my own inks at home. This was made from highlighters that were going to be thrown away, while this is made from a flower extract that is not light fast, so you can see it's already turned, but still has a very pretty red-brown color. I even keep a book of the different inks that I have and how they look when it is on paper, so you can get a better idea of what they look like in the pen versus when you use them to paint with. Regardless of the brand, I love using them to make watercolor splash pages, where I just fill the page up with a bunch of color using water and having it drip all over the page. These are pins that I got from Five Below. They're okay fountain pens, but definitely something that I only keep around for aesthetic reasons because of how pretty they are rather than actually using it. Only these would I occasionally use if I need to. I really like mild liners as far as highlighters go. I like them because they come in a wide variety of color, especially since you have the chiseled tip end here, which allows you to do a lot of wide marking versus your fine tip on this end, which allows you to go through and write or make an underline note versus the chisel tip. I also like these pens because they are great to do a quick refresh on. They are easy to unscrew and pull out the foam inside to add a little bit of moisture and water to it to prolong the life of the pen. I normally don't like big pens because they are bold and messy, but when it comes to using them as sketch pens, I really like the big Colora pens. They're very good for having for being able to go light to dark with. The Zebra Sarasa Clip Gel pens are some of the MVPs in my collection. As far as gel pens go, I really like their smooth consistency. They don't usually have a hard start to them, and it takes a while for them to dry out. Though I do have a little bit of trouble with the 0.3, tending to be very hard to keep the color very consistent with. Other than that, I highly recommend that. I always keep a couple of Hobonichi pens around with me. These are really great because of them having the 3 different points and being able to switch between the colors. Also, they are refillable and they're from the Uni pen line. This one is one of the first Hobonichi pens that I ever got. That comes with the Hobonichi Techo when you order directly from them as a gift. And this one, I believe, oh yeah, it has it. This one is 2003 pen. And this is why I keep ordering from Hobonichi every year, is to get their exclusive pen, as well as many other things. I always keep a jelly roll on hand, specifically white, although I only have the glitter one immediately available right now, because it is great for making marks and just decorating my pieces with little extra doodles to make them pop. I like to have a watercolor brush pen on hand, so that way if I'm just going to do some quick marks, I can pull this out, fill it up with water, and do a quick coloring. Since this is actually an extra one that I have, I am probably going to fill this up with some ink, so that way I have another ink brush pen. I like to use the black Pentel brush pen because it has a very fine tip, so it allows you to go from thick to thin very easily and very quickly. This was another gift from Hobonichi. This was during their year for handwriting, and this is the Pentel Sign brush pen. I like it okay. Its ink isn't the greatest, but in a pinch, I like to use it. When I want to make some quick shadow marks underneath my drawings, just to give it a little pop, especially if I'm working in black and white, I like to keep the Faber-Castell Artist Pen, the Pitt Artist Pens with me, or the Sarasa Porous pen. These are really good for just making quick little marks. They're brush pens with various different tips. I mean, they're felt pens with various different tips. This one's a brush felt pen, while this one is a fine tip felt pen. I have 1,001 of the Tombow Fudonosuke pens around. They're really good. I like both the hard and the soft version of the pen. It's just very usable, very flexible to have around. So I tried the Zig Cartoonist Mangaka pens. They aren't my favorite. I like to have pens that have a bit more flexible tip on them. These are very rigid and you have to hold it a certain way, otherwise you could damage the tip of the pen. That's the same problem that I have with microns, and I don't usually keep them around unless they are very, very fine tipped for very, very detailed work. And then when I need to make some big bold black lines or big bold white lines, I really do like these Sakura Perma-Q pins. They're very opaque and very useful. They're just a lot of fun. These gel pens aren't nearly as good as the Sarasa or the Sakura gel pens, although I do have a Sakura gel pen in here. These are just some generic pens that I picked up from Walmart to see the difference and to add some detailed texture into my work. I find these to be really oily and messy, so they are a sometimes use when I'm wanting some different colors than what I already have. I got this pen carousel from Target. It is perfect because it is removable and I am able to keep all of the extra little supplies that I just have around on here, including brushes, eyedroppers, pliers for the various things that I randomly need them for, measuring spoons. Mostly have mechanical pencils in the area, with the exception of these thick pens. I got these kid pencils because they have these different colored tips, and it kind of reminds me of my kid when you get those like spirally color pencils. They aren't as good as another brand that I work with that is currently packed away, and I will have to share that with you later. One very important tool I keep around is some fans to help my different materials dry when I only need a quick little dry versus a very heavy dry, which for a heavier dry, I actually have a heat gun that I always have at my desk here. Bottle for when I need to do something with watercolor, and I keep a couple of extra jars and cups around to also use for water. My sticker collection can be a video all on its own because I have about 6 different binders full of stickers, specifically from a place called Sticky Club. I was subscribed to Sticky Club for about 2-3 years, where I got a whole bunch of different stickers to add to my collection and got introduced to a variety of different artists, and I love them for that. And when I go to conventions, I like to pick up individuals' different stickers, and I collect them to put on my various sketchbooks or on my laptop, which it's about time to redo that on my laptop. These stickers tend to be a lot bigger than the other stickers, so I don't like to use them in my planner as much. In my Stapo case, I keep a lot of different stamps and things. I really like this particular case because it folds backwards and you can pin it down using this clasp here, so that way it is secured. This is from the Hobonichi website as well, and I have a little eraser crumb picker upper, a lot of different erasers that I like to cut into, some carving tools for making different stamps, and some of my favorite pins, which is the Preppy Pin by Platinum. These are really nice, quick, cheap fountain pens that you want to get involved with, and it comes in a bunch of different colors and is a great way of starting your pin journey. You can also see that I keep a bunch of the clear stamps here in the back pocket as well. I'm already taking one of these with me, which is the first one that I got before this pretty pattern came out. I use both interchangeably, but this one is more of my artsy one versus the other one, which is my stationary one. I don't use Copic markers that often, but I still like to keep them around. In this one, I have all of my flesh tones, as well as my gradient grayscales. That way I can keep them easily organized. And that's going to be this old headphone case that I took the insert out of to be able to store all of my pins, my Copic marker pins. I actually keep everything organized in these photo cases inside this case, so that way everything is easily at hand versus based on the different colors that they come in. I like this method to keep them organized better than the Copic stand that these originally came with, because the Copic stand just is a little bit too easily breakable and it's a little hard for me to store. Well, as this way it's easier to transport them when I want to be on the go. So have the Copic marker refills and some of the pins that are dried out that I need to get refills for them. I don't have a lot of refills. I mostly use the ones that I use the most of, such as my grays, some of the flesh tones, and the blues. I have a bunch of different watercolor and gouache, and I have too many to go over with immediately in this video. Just know that Holbein watercolor is my favorite. It is the most creamy. I am very fortunate to have picked up an entire 48 set, so I can see which ones are my favorites to use, which so far involve the Elysium Crimson, it would be this one, the Elysium Crimson, Opera Pink, it's very, very bright, the Peacock Blue. These are some of my favorites, and I'm actually surprised about how many greens that I use. My favorite green being the Verdane Hue, and then of course I use a lot of Payne's Gray. I have two varieties of watercolor brush pens that I like to use. These are the Kuretake, which was the first style that I ended up using and getting. The Zig Clean and Clear Kuretake pens are really nice for their tip, and they have a really wide range of colors. And then I have the Sai Japanese traditional color brush pens that I got because I wanted to see the difference between the Kuretake Zig pens and the Sai Zig pens. I've ordered both off of Jet Pens, and I haven't seen too much of difference, though the Kuretake tends to be a bit more vibrant in its color versus the Sai. And they're both great to work alongside the watercolor that I already have or use on their own. For detailing work, I actually have some Prismacolor pencils that I like to use. It goes great with a watercolor marker or just any other different kinds of material. This is kind of like that in-between medium. I don't like using them completely by themselves because it is a lot of work to cover large spread areas with this, but it is great to have them around in all of their different colors. Surprise, not surprise, I like to keep some colored crowns around for adding texture to some of my pieces when I want lighter textures, or if I want to be messy and color a messy sketch without feeling like I'm wasting material. I have recently gotten into acrylic paint pens. I used to not like them, but now I'm finding that they're very fun to work with. These aren't as good as the Posca pens. My Posca pens are actually packed away right now to go on a trip with me, but they are still very nice to have around as fire as having some fine tipped pens. In my office, I use a Wacom Cintiq 2010 version, so it's really old, but it's still very useful, and I get a lot done on it to do my animations. And I work on a Mac, which is also a 2010 model, very old, which is why I have the fan behind it, so that way it doesn't overheat. It still gets a lot of the work done that I need to get done, but when I need to do more updated things, I work on my laptop. And I have a station for my silhouette cut and all of the other bookbinding things that I like to keep around, as well as my heat press iron. I recently put in these shelves into my craft space, so that way I can have all of my sketchbooks quick at hand, so I don't have to go between rooms and this area get really cluttered up because I don't want to put the books back. This also gave me space to store my convention stuff, so that way I don't have to go into the garage to get it, and I'll be able to find everything quickly at hand. This printer no longer works as a printer, but it's still a very good scanner, so that's why I keep it around. This is a giant box of paper that I need to sort. This is full of bits and bobs that I've collected from last year and from years past. Papers that I don't want to throw away from the different adventures that I've had, and I have a scrapbooking video planned for that. I keep all of my miscellaneous supplies on this shelf that I don't use as often as some of the others that I've already pointed out. Like my large collection of colored papers, I really can't help but collect because they are just so pretty. Glue and extra jars that I like to use to store different paints in, extra stickers and paint, as well as floral things when I get a random hair. All my wood crafting and my charcoal goes up top. I hang my aprons and bags there. I have a motivational wall that I pin a bunch of stuff that I need to remember on, and this is a scrap fabric wreath that I like to put the different bits of scrap fabrics on instead of throwing them away, and it makes something pretty. And of course you have my main desk area where I keep my scrapbooking papers and magazines underneath, a collection of camera stuff and different materials that I need quick at hand, my bags, as well as my lights and my figurines. Accumulated quite a collection of things that I've either made or that were gifted to me. Some of them are missing here because I like to change them out in different locations. Those extra figures to hang out by my TV, since my mom has currently really gotten into One Piece and we wanted to showcase. Keep my plushies here to cheer me on while I'm working. And this is my mom's massive pop collection. My mom really likes the Muppets, so we have quite a few Muppet figures with only a few of my figures at the top and some things that I've knitted. I have some artwork hanging up on the walls, but I'm not quite happy with it, so I'll be reframing a lot of it very soon. So I started to pull out a lot of my washi tape to show off each of it, especially since I have everything separated out by colors. But the more I started to pull them out, the more I realized that this video was getting very long. And so I am just gonna showcase what I have currently filmed, and I will do a whole video on this next time. So enjoy the ones that are my favorite. So I didn't mean for this to turn into an impromptu studio tour, but here we are, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for coming along and seeing all of the supplies and things that I have around my little studio area, and I look forward to sharing what I create with those. And I think I'm next going to give you a proper tour of a lot of the paintings that I've done. Who knows? I have so much that I've done over the past, 16 years, 17 years, that I am just now feeling comfortable to share with everybody. I'm a little sad that it took me this long to be able to share this with you, but I know everything comes in its own good time, and so thank you for being along in this journey with me. I hope that you have a moment of joy and that this brought you a moment of joy in your life, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you all later. Bye!